On the road to scaling an insurance company through paid ads, one of the buzzwords that you would have heard many times over would be landing pages. Not many people talk about the correct structure of how a landing page should be designed, what it should be including, and how to profitably at scale turn cold prospects into policy sales through the use of a conversion mechanism, aka a landing page. So in this video, we're going to talk about the exact hierarchy of how a page should be designed. We're going to show you live examples of landing pages that have generated hundreds of thousands of leads in the formats that we continue to use in our agency for our client. If you're new here, my name is Brandon. I own an agency called Grow My Insurance, where we help insurance companies with lead generation through paid ads. We talk about all things conversion rate, mindset, consultancy, sales, lead generation, paid ads, Google ads, Facebook ads. If you're interested in working through us, we offer a turnkey solution for bespoke lead generation campaigns, typically designed for more established brokers and bigger insurance companies. That being said, let's jump into the video. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. You're going to really like this. If you're new here, consider subscribing, like this video. So let's jump in. The main use of a landing page for your insurance company is converting cold prospects into warm, valid inquiries that are likely to buy an insurance policy from you. So in this landing page mastery video, I'm going to discuss one, how we design the above fold section to lock attention quickly. I'm going to discuss why most typical hero sections and why most websites and landing pages lack conversions. I'm going to share how we build social proof and leverage competency early on, how to position your business as unique in the field, and how to explain the customer's journey in the business well. We're also going to share and show how we build urgency and urgency statements that nearly make it impossible for people not to contact us, and also giving customers interactive features that drive and increase your conversions. We're going to share how to leverage reviews and trust, and also how to close the page off naturally to avoid it feeling unnatural. Now, if you want a turnkey solution, again, we offer a complete stack solution for growth for insurance companies. That being said, disclaimer, this is a landing page that we specifically run traffic to right now for our client. If you watch this video, the goal is not to just copy exactly what we're doing. It's not that that won't work for you, but the whole point of this video is to give you the thought processes and the idea of exactly why we do it this way. Because all of our clients, we design bespoke landing pages and they follow different formats, but they follow the same thinking and idea structure behind them. Okay, so each landing page is bespoke for one of our clients and everything is designed specifically around their features, their benefits. Now, one of the biggest things is if you just go away, you watch this, you think, I'll copy that, and you display the same thing. That might work in the short term, but if you don't understand the reasoning behind why this has been done in the first place, you're not going to ever get ahead, because people then will copy you and then you'll just be running the same funnel as everyone else and people will just be effectively copying your ideas. So the idea is to understand quickly, right, if things need to be changed, when we make a version 2 of this, a version 3, a version 10, a version 30, we know the processes that have to go in place. So that being said, the whole point in this landing page, we're going to go through the whole step and I'm going to highlight some things that I believe are going to be really useful to you. So this is effectively the format that we typically use. Again, this is specifically designed. We have an internal landing page department that builds these out for our clients and part of the full stack service that we offer. So very early on, one thing that we like to display is having this feature highlight section. Very early on, as soon as you load the page, you're understanding what are some of the benefits, what are some of the features, what are some of the selling points of why I should be interested in this. We always like to add a call to action to be quite direct, either if this is a button or if this is a direct telephone. You can really pick. We've tried both. They both work effective. If you do want those inbound calls, then you definitely want to have your number on there. Very important that early on, you want to display exactly what this product is and who this is for, okay? So if it's unoccupied home insurance, the headline should be unoccupied home insurance. If it's insurance for landlords, it should say insurance for landlords. What this headline shouldn't be is trying to be and resonate with your customers and not allowing them to know exactly what this is. So for example, this one here is life insurance for high BMI. What this wouldn't be is protect your family knowing that you've happy in your own skin or something like that, whatever that might be, right? It should be life insurance for fat people. That effectively is exactly what it is. In this case, that'd probably be the headline that we'd opt for. This client didn't want to go for that, but life insurance for fat people, exactly what it is. As soon as it loads, the page loads, I know exactly where I am, what this is, what the next steps are. Okay. We always like to have some form of subheadline just below that. It's offer driven. It explains the next step. It highlights who this is for. This does a really good benefit. It's specialist markets for 55 plus BMI up to that. So typically typically the people who are on the heavier scale. Get a quote below, very articulate on the next steps, and beat any quote guarantee. Very high incentive to actually want to move forward. The whole point here, what we're trying to do early on is leverage some form of reviews. We want to give it very clear and articulate about the next steps. We want to exactly, when people understand, they load on this, even if they do not scroll, they know what this is, who this is for, how they continue and follow through with the quote process. Now, in this case, we would do the embedded form on this single page where we're collecting all that information and the next steps, collecting the email address and everything like that. In some cases, you might just want to have a button on there that says get a quote, and then that actually goes over to either maybe an online quote or a callback form or the quote page itself. We've tried both. We continue to use both for some clients. In some instances, we split test different variations of the landing page. I like the one where it's all on one form personally, just because it's easier to manage and it's just easier to understand, but we currently do both and they both do work. So there's no right or wrong way here. In some instances, we have seen a higher drop off where we use 2 pages, but in some instances, we've actually seen a better conversion rate. So I don't think that there is a for sure you have to do it this way. Quite early on, the main thing that we want to leverage is we want to be talking about features, benefits, social proof. We want to give and show that competency early on. Essentially, this portion here, if you think about it, is probably the bit that most people see. Go to say 80% of the individuals, 90% of the individuals would see this section, and a lot past that really is below the fold is where most people aren't even getting to, and that's absolutely fine. So just very early on, we want to be talking about what we do, some of the sort of things that we benefit from, obviously business of the year in this instance, what other products we might sell, how the process works, and just trying to highlight a few of the things that we feel that our customer would be interested in. The next stage to this is really the typical, if you think about this section, this would be what most people would actually class it as above the fold section. So most people design their hero sections to look something along the lines of this. You'd have a headline, you'd have some text, you'd have a call to action, and then you'd have a picture here on the right. We actually like to use 2 hero sections, and this is really the design hierarchy of what I'm explaining. This is hero section number 1, but this is actually hero section number 2. I don't see many people doing this, definitely across most marketing, lead generation, sales, conversion pages, across e-commerce, anything like that. We actually see most of the time, most people just do a hero section and then, go below the fold. We actually like to design that as 2 hero sections. Okay, so effectively building out what most people typically would see and then adding a section above that as well. But biggest point and biggest takeaway is the images that you create, they need to reflect the customer, who they are, what they look like, their demographic. You need to be super accurate, and this will go throughout the page. The images that we use, the branding that we use, the colors that we use have to be super applicable to that type of individual. So let's just say you're doing some form of motorbike insurance. You might not want to do just very flat, neutral colors. You won't want to use things like pinks in there. You might want to go a bit more hardcore, reds, greens, blues. Think about some of the bikes and some of the sports bikes like Kawasaki Ninjas. There's a very bright greens, for example. These are all going to be things that would reflect, and when the customer lands on your page, they need to feel at home. They need to feel that you understand exactly who they are. Obviously, the best way to do that is through some form of visual aspect. A lot of the time that's going to be the pictures that you select. We like to use in some instances, obviously, if it is a client where they do have access to maybe whole market or they compare multiple insurers, let's just say they're a broker in most cases, then we like to use some of the insurer brands. Again, that just increases trust. People recognize stuff like Vitality, people recognize stuff, have seen it on TV, Legal and General. So we want to try and give that person a lot of you've been here before, you understand this sort of process. Moving down into this, we're just trying to very quickly articulate competency, but we're also just trying to articulate, people like you buy from us, people who we're a real business, we are legit, we're not scamming you. We like to try and very early on, if the client has results and they have reviews, we want to try and get them in there very quickly. Moving into the next stage, really, this is super important. It's the best way I've seen and how we can describe this is an us versus them. Okay, so quite quickly, because there are many other solutions in the market. If you're in life insurance, for example, you're not the only life insurance broker and you're not the only life insurance person running ads. If you're in home insurance, vice versa, car insurance, whatever that might be, you don't have a unique product. There's many people selling it the same way as you. So what we need to describe quite quickly is what makes you different from the other solutions. Why should this person go with you versus just going with somebody else? And why should people even care in the first place? Okay, so this is typically, we do this through like an us versus them, and we can leverage the sort of benefits that we have. Now, it's not to say that other people don't have these,
But you basically, the us versus them shouldn't be you versus the equivalent version of you. It should be you versus the worst version of you. So for example, in this instance is life insurance for people with high BMI, right? So what we do there is that this client, because they offer an advice service, they're able to work with people that might not fit the typical bill. We're able to work with people that don't just typically sell online, or buy online. So the general market who we're confirming this against, this might be the comparison brands. It might be the ones that just instantly reject people with a high BMI or medical conditions. So you don't need to do an us versus them as us versus somebody who also specializes in this area. It's just really us versus maybe someone who you might recognize. And that's why we usually frame that as a general market. But us versus them, however you frame that, super important and very valuable, because it positions you, one, as a bit of an expert in the field, but then also allows you, okay, well, I'm going to find this hard if I go somewhere else. Something ongoing, and you'll see this themes throughout this landing page, but this run themes across all of the clients we work with, is that we like to always split sections up, and we like to create sections that have, a contrast in color. Contrast in color is very important. If it's very flat, everything looks the same, there's not these different sections, what draws your attention. It's very subtle on a brand perspective, but it goes a long way because it allows people to digest the content so much easier. Again, super important thing that we're doing, subtle messaging, speaking to your ideal customer. Our ideal customer is going to be someone who is on the heavier side, and we also have markets up to what previously most people would be declined at. Again, it's the use of images and it's the use of text and how we do that. This is a really good example of how we're able to do that. And then it's also understanding and giving just some context on maybe where you fit within this policy scale. So it's not just copy paste, everything is the same, but it's the thinking process of, right, how can we create something that resonates exactly with our ideal customer? Super important next steps. One of the probably biggest things that you need to do across your landing pages, and it is to explain what the next steps are and the process with your business. Okay, you can do that as a 1, 2, 3 or an ABC. Best done in 3s because it's just easy to digest and people understand it. But explain what people have to do. Right, they're on this landing page. Do they even know what the next step is? What is the process they're about to go through? Really, you can articulate, we do this as request a quote, speak to our team, get life insurance. So it's really taking you from where you are right now and those steps necessary to actually buy from us. Again, displaying urgency, displaying competency in a very strong way. We're trying to display competency early on through maybe our achievements, maybe things that we have done in the business. We're resonating with the customer, guiding them to feel safe with us. That's really the whole point throughout your landing page, because most people don't think about this. A lot of people complain about lead quality. They always say, the leads suck, they don't pick up, there's all wrong numbers. A lot of the time it's through the process of how somebody's even submitted the quotes to you. If you just have a page with very limited information, it's just like, what's your first name, what's your surname, what's your email address, what's your mobile, you will have a lot of low intent people that are not interested, because a lot of the time they just don't have the conviction, they don't have the trust. By framing and building pages that look more like this, that are articulate and explain the next steps and give the customer what they need to know, they just have a higher trust. So when the submission, and they do submit the information to you, the level of intent behind even speaking to you in the first place increases significantly. So one thing that we're doing early on for our client is displaying competency. Now, it's not just about the conversion. No, we're not just aiming to get that person to submit information, but we're also trying to create it in a way as like, how do we make them follow through with their decision? Okay, so somebody has submitted their information. That's step one. The next step is actually getting on the phone with someone. How, through landing page and through copy, are we making people actually say, right, I'm going to submit my information, but I'm actually going to fulfill and follow through with this. One thing that we mentioned above is how can we create a landing page and an offer that incentivizes people to think, I would be stupid not to submit my information and speak to these guys. And we do this through offers and incentives and an offer that incentivizes action. Okay. One thing that we would do with some clients, and particularly whoever is able to sort of implement this, would like to implement this is 100% compliant, is to guarantee to beat any price. Now, there are stipulations on that, and there's terms and conditions which, if framed correctly, is absolutely compliant, and if framed in the right way. Effectively, what the goal here is that we are attracting people who are already looking in the market. Because if we guarantee any price, we're guaranteed to beat any price. Essentially, on the surface, it just makes it look like we'll beat any price. Terms and conditions would suggest that that's not the case. Okay, it's just a case of, it depends on the cover, like for like this type of stuff. I'm not going to get into offer creation. I'm pretty sure I have a video somewhere on offer creation around that. But what we're doing by framing it this way is already finding people that are in the market who have already got prices. They've either got current cover right now, they're coming up for renewal dates. So it's actually framed in a way to articulate and be, essentially market to people that are already ready to buy. Moving on, we're heading into something interactive. So quite early on, we want to give them maybe like a quiz funnel, some form of calculator, which suggests this not be a price calculator, but we direct action towards people moving steps. So in this case, you'd enter your weight, you'd enter your height, and then what will happen is it would, give you a calculation saying, based on your results, we strongly would suggest you speak to us because of this reason, because this BMI, these are the issues that you're going to have. So this can be done through quiz funnels, it can be done through calculators. Take this very short assessment to assess if life insurance is right for you, if insurance is right for you. There's so many really fun and bespoke ways that you can position this, but what we've found that this significantly increases the probability that somebody even submits their information to you. And as you can see, you'll see this dotted all throughout the page, here. It's CTAs, it's call to actions that are scattered around the page. And again, try and push somebody to that main goal, which in this case is to submit information to get a quote. Very simple, add the reviews. People want to see that you're a legitimate business. One of the biggest things that we do is make sure that the reviews are from the platform. So if it's Google, make sure the reviews look like they're from Google. If it's from Trustpilot, make sure they look from Trustpilot. In this case, it's VouchedFor, making sure that the business looks and these reviews look like they're from that platform. Super simple, but they go a long way, because if they don't look like they're native from the platform, you'll just think that people will think that they're not real, and effectively they're false. And just to close this off, how to close a landing page off effectively, we want to just always add FAQs that are applicable to the product itself. What are the common questions that your customer is asking, and how can we just quickly close that off and help people at the bottom of the page? If they've got all the way here, they are interested, they might just need a little bit more to get them over the line and then get them to submit the details over to us. So that being said, that is a landing page mastery. How do you correctly build and frame a landing page to be able to increase intent, conversions, and turn cold prospects into policy sales? If you found this valuable, like, subscribe, do all that good YouTube stuff. If you're interested in working with us, you can find those descriptions and you can find those links in the descriptions below. Thanks again. Chat soon.